Stop whatever you're doing right now and ask yourself this question. What were you supposed to be doing before you clicked on this video? I'll wait. If you're anything like I was 6 months ago, the answer is probably something important that you've been putting off for days, maybe even weeks. And instead of doing that thing, you're here watching YouTube, telling yourself you'll start after just one more video. Here's the brutal truth. You're not procrastinating 20% of your time like you think you are. You're procrastinating 80% of your time, and I'm about to prove it to you. Then I'm going to show you exactly how I went from being a world-class procrastinator to actually getting things done. First, let me tell you what I discovered during my brutal self-audit. Most of what we call procrastination isn't the obvious stuff like scrolling social media or watching videos. That's amateur hour. The real procrastination happens when you convince yourself you're working. I call it productive procrastination. And it's sneaky as hell. For me, it looked like this. I'd sit down to write a report, but first I'd organize my desktop, then I'd update my to-do list, then I'd research the perfect formatting style. Then I'd read 3 articles about writing better reports. 2 hours later, I hadn't written a single word, but I felt super productive. Sound familiar? You're not lazy. You're not broken. Your brain is just running an outdated operating system that prioritizes feeling productive over being productive. The scariest part? I thought I was working hard. I was at my desk for 10 hours. I was tired at the end of the day. I had a long list of things I'd done, but none of it actually mattered. Here's what's actually happening in your head when you procrastinate. Your brain sees a big important task and immediately thinks danger. Not physical danger, but emotional danger. What if you mess up? What if it's not perfect? What if people judge your work? So your brain does what brains do best. It finds a safer alternative that still feels like progress. Instead of writing that presentation, you'll research presentation templates. Instead of starting that project, you'll create the ultimate planning system. It's genius, really. You get to feel productive without risking failure because you're always doing something adjacent to the real work. But adjacent work doesn't get results. Your brain is basically a very sophisticated procrastination machine that's convinced itself it's helping you succeed. The first thing that changed everything for me was something I call the time block reality check. Instead of working on whatever felt urgent, I started working in predetermined blocks. Here's how it works. Every morning, I write down exactly 3 things I'm going to work on and exactly how long I'm going to spend on each one. That's it. 3 things, with time limits. The key is being stupidly specific. Not work on presentation, but write introduction and first 2 slides of presentation. Not exercise, but 20-minute walk around the neighborhood. Not clean office, but clear desk and empty trash. When the time block ends, I stop, even if I'm in the middle of something. Even if I want to keep going. This was the hardest part for me because I'm a perfectionist, but it's also what made the biggest difference. Why does this work? Because your brain can handle 25 minutes of focused work, but it panics at the thought of working until something is perfect. Time limits remove the pressure to be perfect and replace it with pressure to just start. The second technique I discovered is something I call the 2-minute rule, but it's not what you think. Most people use this rule to do small tasks immediately, but I use it to start big tasks without commitment. When I'm avoiding something important, I tell myself I only have to work on it for 2 minutes. Not 2 minutes to finish it, just 2 minutes to start it. No pressure, no expectations. Just 2 minutes of messy, imperfect work. Here's what's weird. I almost never stop at 2 minutes. Once I start, momentum takes over and I keep going. But the 2-minute promise is what gets me to sit down in the first place. I've used this to start everything from difficult conversations to creative projects to cleaning my entire apartment. The magic isn't in the 2 minutes, it's in removing the mental barrier that makes starting feel impossible. Your brain can't argue with 2 minutes because 2 minutes isn't threatening. But once you're in motion, stopping becomes harder than continuing. The third thing I learned is that procrastination comes in predictable patterns. I started noticing that I procrastinate the same way every time, like following a script. My personal procrastination stack goes like this. Check phone, open laptop, check emails, organize something, check phone again, get distracted by random internet rabbit hole, feel guilty, make coffee, check emails again, finally start working. Once I mapped this out, I could interrupt it. Now when I catch myself checking my phone for the second time, I know exactly what's happening. Instead of following the script, I can jump straight to the actual work. The crazy part is that awareness alone cuts your procrastination time in half. When you can see the pattern happening in real time, it becomes much harder to justify continuing it. I started keeping a simple tally of how many times I caught myself procrastinating each day. Not to judge myself, just to notice. Within a week, the number dropped dramatically just because I was paying attention. Here's something nobody talks about. Procrastination isn't always about avoiding work. Sometimes it's about working at the wrong time with the wrong energy. I discovered that I procrastinate most when I'm trying to do creative work in the afternoon or administrative work first thing in the morning. My brain has natural rhythms, and fighting against them is exhausting. Now I do my hardest thinking work in the morning when my brain is fresh, and I save the mindless tasks for when my energy is low. This single change eliminated probably half of my procrastination because I stopped fighting against my natural energy patterns. I also realized that some of my procrastination was actually my brain telling me I needed a break. Instead of pushing through and doing fake work for an hour, I started taking real breaks. 10 minutes of walking or stretching, and then I could focus properly. The difference between procrastinating and taking a break is intention. Procrastination happens to you. Breaks are something you choose. The biggest procrastination killer for me was learning to embrace what I call good enough work. Most of my procrastination was actually perfectionism in disguise. I'd avoid starting projects because I wanted them to be perfect, and perfect felt impossible. So instead of creating something good, I'd create nothing at all. The solution was setting lower standards for first drafts. My goal isn't to create something perfect, it's to create something that exists. I can always improve something that exists, but I can't improve something that only exists in my head. I started giving myself permission to do mediocre work with the understanding that I could fix it later. This removed the pressure that was causing most of my procrastination in the first place. The funny thing is, when you remove the pressure to be perfect, you often end up doing better work anyway because you're not paralyzed by fear of failure. Here's how I put all of this together into a system that actually works. Every Sunday, I plan my week using the 3-layer method. Layer 1. I pick 3 big things I want to accomplish this week. Not 10, not 20, 3. Layer 2. I break each big thing into small, specific actions and assign them to specific time blocks. Layer 3. I identify where I'm most likely to procrastinate and create interruption plans for those moments. This takes about 15 minutes every Sunday, but it saves me hours of procrastination during the week because I always know exactly what I should be doing and when I should be doing it. The key is treating this system like an experiment, not a rule book. Some weeks it works perfectly. Some weeks I adjust it, some weeks I ignore it completely. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. After implementing these changes over the past 6 months, my productivity has transformed completely. I'm not working longer hours, I'm actually working fewer hours, but getting way more done. More importantly, I'm not constantly stressed about all the things I'm not doing, because I know exactly what I am doing and why. The mental energy I used to spend on procrastination and guilt is now available for actual work and actual rest. I still procrastinate sometimes, but now it's a conscious choice rather than an automatic response. When I catch myself avoiding something, I can usually trace it back to fear, perfectionism, or working at the wrong energy level, and I have tools to deal with each of those. The biggest change is that I trust myself to follow through on commitments I make to myself. That alone has been worth all the effort. If you want to try this yourself, start with just one technique. Pick the one that resonates most with you and commit to testing it for 1 week. If this video helped you realize that maybe your procrastination isn't a character flaw but a system problem that can be solved, hit that like button and subscribe for more videos about working smarter instead of harder. What's your biggest procrastination trigger? Let me know in the comments. Stop putting off your potential. Your future self is counting on what you do today.